All right, let's dive in. We're talking AI today, specifically China's Deepseek R1. This AI model is making some serious noise, and we've got a great video here by Dave, a retired Microsoft engineer, breaking it all down.
Yeah, some are even calling it a Sputnik moment for AI. And honestly, for a good
A
reason.
Sputnik moment. Oh, okay, now you've got me hooked. What is Deepseek R1? Like, why is everyone freaking out about it?
Well, think of it this way, right? DeepSeek R1, it's basically going head-to-head with the giants, like ChatGPT. But here's the crazy part. They built this thing for a fraction of the cost. We're talking millions, not billions, of dollars.
Wait, hold up. So it's cheap, it's powerful. What's the catch? It's got to be a trade-off somewhere, right?
Well, there are some limitations, sure. But before we get into that, let's talk about how they pulled this off. The secret weapon here is something called distillation.
Distillation. Okay, now you're just using fancy words to confuse me.
No, it's actually pretty simple. Imagine you're teaching a parrot to, sing like a famous opera singer. You're not giving the parrot the singer's vocal cords, right? But it can still make some pretty impressive sounds. That's kind of like distillation.
So they're basically training a small AI to mimic a much bigger, more complex one.
Exactly. The big AI, it acts as a kind of teacher, guiding the smaller one to achieve similar results without needing all that crazy computing power. It's like squeezing the knowledge of a whole library into like one little book.
Okay, that's a pretty awesome analogy. But wait, DeepSeek R1 wasn't just trained on one big AI, right? They've mentioned multiple AIs, some even open source. It's like having a student learn from a whole panel of experts.
You got it. That's actually pretty unusual, this diverse training approach. And it gives DeepSeek R1 some surprising robustness and adaptability. Imagine having like the combined wisdom of Einstein, Shakespeare, and Marie Curie all in one package.
Whoa, okay, now that's just mind-blowing. So instead of needing those huge server farms, could you run this thing on, say, a decent gaming laptop?
That's the revolutionary part. You don't need those massive data centers anymore. And that opens up AI development to a whole new world of players.
This is huge. Imagine what a small startup, a university lab, heck, even a high school kid could do with this kind of power.
Absolutely. This is a potential game changer. We could see innovation coming from all sorts of unexpected places.
But you mentioned there were some trade-offs.
Hmm.
What are the downsides to this approach?
Right. Well, one of the challenges with smaller models like this is that they can be more prone to what we call hallucinations.
Hallucinations, like the AI is seeing things that aren't there. That's kind of creepy.
Well, not literally seeing things. Think of it more like that friend who always has an answer, even when they have no idea what they're talking about. That's an AI hallucination. Giving a wrong answer, but with total confidence.
So it might sound super smart, but sometimes it's just flat out wrong.
Exactly. And since DeepSeek R1 is learning from these bigger models, it can inherit some of their quirks, their limitations.
Got it. So while it's really powerful, we still need to be a bit careful with the information it gives us. Like, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe two.
Exactly. Now, shifting gears a bit, DeepSeek R1's arrival has everyone talking, especially in the US. What does this mean for the global AI landscape?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. This feels like it could be a major shift in the balance of power when it comes to AI development.
It certainly could be. And, one of the most interesting things about DeepSeek R1 is that it's open source.
Oh, right. Can you remind us what that means and why it matters so much in this case?
Sure. Open source means the code is freely available for anyone to see, to modify, to use. And for DeepSeek R1, that's a big deal. It brings a level of transparency we don't usually see with AI models, especially from big companies.
So it's like letting everyone peek under the hood and see how the engine runs.
That's a good way to put it. And it has a couple of major implications. First, it encourages collaboration. It speeds up innovation. It's like a global team of engineers all working together to improve the design.
More eyes on the code, more people contributing, faster progress. Makes sense. But how does this impact things on a global scale? Between countries?
Well, that leads us to the second implication, increased competition. DeepSeek R1, being open source, puts pressure on companies in the US and elsewhere to keep pushing the boundaries of AI development. They got to keep up.
So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. It boosts collaboration, but also heats up the competition in the AI race.
You could say that, and it's especially interesting in the context of U.S.-China relations. Some experts are even comparing this to the original Sputnik moment, where the Soviet Union launched that satellite, and it pushed the U.S. to invest heavily in space exploration.
Wow, that's a pretty serious comparison. So are we on the brink of a new AI space race, all thanks to DeepSeek R1?
It's certainly possible. This development has shaken things up in the tech world, and it'll be fascinating to see how things play out. But there's another angle to consider here.
Okay, I'm all ears. What else is there to this story?
Well, remember how we talked about Deepseek R1 being developed for a surprisingly low cost? Some experts are suggesting that the reported number, under $6 million, might not be the whole story.
Wait, are you saying the Ferrari built with Chevy parts story might not be totally accurate? What are they suggesting?
There's a theory floating around that the Chinese government might have heavily subsidized the project, maybe to disrupt the US AI industry. Think of it as a strategic move, not just a research project.
Hmm. That does sound a little bit like a conspiracy theory, doesn't it?
It's true, there's no hard evidence to back that up right now. But it does raise some interesting questions, about the motivation behind DeepSeek R1 and the role of government support in AI development. It's something to think about.
This is getting more and more intriguing. So maybe it's not about the actual cost of DeepSeek R1, but the strategic advantage it gives China in the global AI arena. It's a power move,
Yeah.
and everyone's trying to figure out how to respond. Man, DeepSeek R1 is a way bigger deal than I first thought.
It certainly is, and it raises a critical question. If a model this good can be built for so little, what does that mean for the future of AI? How accessible will it become? What if the next big AI breakthrough, right? What if it comes from like a small startup in India or a research lab in Brazil? Heck, maybe even a high school student coding in their bedroom.
Whoa, that's a wild thought. But if AI gets that accessible, wouldn't there be some risks involved?
Well, yeah, wider access to powerful technology always comes with potential risk. That's just the reality. But it also opens up like incredible opportunities. Think about it. AI tailored to specific industries, personalized education, even creative stuff like music and art.
It's like we're on the edge of a whole new world. And DeepSeek R1, it's just a taste of what's possible. But with all this talk about the future of AI, I'm kind of curious, what about the here and now? How could DeepSeek R1 actually impact us today?
That's a great question. One area where we could see a big impact is in research and development.
Okay, so how would that work?
Well, imagine this. Scientists, researchers, they have access to AI tools. Tools that can analyze mountains of data, identify patterns, generate hypotheses, and all at a speed we've never seen before.
So it could speed up breakthroughs in, like, medicine, material science, climate change research, all sorts of stuff.
Exactly. And it's not just about scientific research. Businesses could use these AI tools too, to optimize their operations, personalize customer experiences, develop new products.
So DeepSeek R1 could be a huge boost for both big and small businesses across tons of different industries.
Precisely. It's like giving everyone a powerful new toolkit. It's up to us to figure out how to use them, effectively and responsibly.
That's a good point. We've been talking a lot about the good stuff, the positive potential of DeepSeek R1. But let's not forget, any powerful tool can be misused, right? How can we make sure this tech is used ethically for the benefit of everyone?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. And one we need to be asking ourselves right now. As AI gets more powerful, more accessible, we need to talk about its impact. The good and the bad. It's got to be an open conversation.
So what steps can we take to ensure responsible AI development, right from the start?
Well, for starters, we need transparency, open communication. Making the code open source, like DeepSeek R1, that's a great first step. Experts can look at the models, see if there are biases, suggest improvements.
So it's like a team effort, a global community working together to make sure AI development stays on the right track.
Exactly. We also need to invest in AI education. Make sure people understand how these systems work, what their limitations are, the ethical questions they raise. We need AI literacy.
I love that. The more people understand AI, the better we can use it. And we can hold the developers accountable, right? Make sure they're building responsible AI that actually benefits society.
It's also important to get everyone involved. Governments, industry leaders, researchers, we need to work together to develop some guidelines, regulations for AI development and how it's used.
So, like an international agreement, a set of rules for how to deal with this powerful new tech.
That's the idea. It's a tough challenge, but one we absolutely need to tackle. The decisions we make now, they'll have a huge impact on the future of AI and how it shapes our lives.
This is all making a lot of sense. But let's go back to Deepseek R1 for a sec. This model, it kind of came out of nowhere, right? I mean, a few months ago, nobody even knew it existed. Now it's making headlines, shaking up the whole tech world. How did this happen so fast?
That's a great question, and it really shows how incredibly fast AI is moving. Innovation is happening at lightning speed, and new breakthroughs are popping up all the time.
So even the experts are having trouble keeping up.
In some ways, yeah. But that's also what makes this field so exciting. It's all about discovery. We're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
It's both exciting and a bit scary, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're in uncharted territory here, and we need to be ready for anything. Be prepared to adapt to whatever comes next.
Speaking of unexpected things, remember in Dave's video, he actually tested Deepseek R1 with that famous photo. The one with the man standing in front of the tanks. You know, the one that's often censored in China.
Oh, yeah. That was interesting. What happened?
And like this Deepseek R1 had identified it correctly, the Tiananmen Square protests, it even gave some context, talked about the photo's significance, the censorship surrounding it.
Wow. That's surprising. So the public version of Deepseek R1, it doesn't seem to shy away from sensitive topics?
It was pretty unexpected, but it does make you wonder, how will this tech be controlled, regulated, especially in places like China? Who knows what version they have access to over there?
It's a complex issue, no doubt, but it's one we need to address, especially as AI becomes more intertwined with our lives.
It feels like we're at a crossroads. Deepseek R1 is pointing towards a future full of possibilities,
Yeah.
but also some potential dangers, you know?
I think that's a great way to put it. DeepSeek R1 is more than just another AI. It's a catalyst. It's starting a global conversation about the future of AI, how it'll impact society.
So where do we go from here? What's the next chapter in this story?
That's the question we need to answer. Together. The future of AI. It's not set in stone. It's being shaped right now by the choices we make, the actions we take.
So what choices do we need to make? What actions should we be taking?
We got to put ethics first. We need transparency in how AI is developed. And we need everyone working together. Governments, industry, researchers, we need guidelines and rules.
It sounds like navigating this new AI world responsibly is going to take a global effort. But for our listener out there, what can they do? How can they stay informed, be a part of this rapidly changing field?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, it feels like AI is changing so fast. It's hard to even keep up, let alone like actually shape its future.
Yeah, I get it. The pace of change, it can be a lot. But there are things everyone can do, you know, to stay informed, stay involved. And one of the most important, stay curious. Curiosity, like that old saying, the important thing is not to stop questioning. But how does being curious about AI, how does that translate into something real? Something that can actually make a difference?
That's where education comes in. There's a ton of stuff out there. Online courses, research papers, all sorts of things. Even if you don't have a tech background, you can learn the basics of AI, see how it's being used, understand the ethics involved.
So anyone with internet, basically, they can become like an AI enthusiast, no fancy degree needed.
Absolutely. And it's not just about learning facts, right? It's about thinking critically, asking those tough questions like, how is this AI being developed? Why is it being used this way? What are the potential downsides?
So questioning the assumptions, looking for different approaches, thinking about unintended consequences, stuff like that.
Exactly. And don't keep it to yourself. Talk to people about it, online, in person, wherever. Heck, even contact your representatives. Let them know what you think.
So it's about being an informed citizen, right, in the age of AI. I like that. But I think a lot of people, they might feel like, what can one person do? Like, my voice is just a drop in the bucket. You know, what can I really do to change something as big and powerful as AI?
Yeah, I hear that. But remember, change starts with awareness, with individuals getting involved. If enough people start asking the right questions, if they demand transparency, if they push for ethical development, well, it creates this ripple effect. And that can actually influence how things are done, you know, in companies and even in government.
So it's about raising awareness, getting people talking, creating this movement towards responsible AI. That's actually pretty inspiring. It's like we're all in this giant experiment together, and each of us has a role to play in how it turns out.
I love that. That's a great way to think about it. We're all participants in this AI story, and it's up to us to steer it in the right direction, to create a future where AI benefits all of humanity.
Well said. And I think that's a perfect note to wrap up this deep dive on. We've covered a lot. The tech behind Deepseek R1, its impact on the AI landscape, the ethical questions we need to address. It's been quite a journey.
It really has. A fascinating conversation. I hope our listeners out there, I hope they've gained a better understanding of this incredible, fast-moving field.
To everyone listening, remember, the future of AI, it's not set in stone. We're building it right now with every choice we make, every action we take. So stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, speak up. Your voice matters.
Until next time, keep exploring. And remember, the future of AI is in our hands.
Happy diving, everyone.